I don't usually do movie reviews after only one viewing. It's kind of like a rule with me because I'm not a big fan of critics, and I find that they tend to have these knee-jerk reactions to a particular film without really sitting down and thinking about it. They're trying to meet a deadline, which, you know, isn't necessarily their fault, but a lot of times certain critics will just come off sounding bitter. With Venom, I hadn't planned on doing a review at all, but the more that I thought about it, and I've seen it a couple of weeks ago now, I saw it on opening weekend, the more I thought about it, I was just like, I gotta do something for this movie. So here's my quick little review of Venom. First of all, to point out how this all started, which was, I love Tom Hardy. Tom Hardy's fantastic, and I've been really excited about what Marvel's been doing with all of their universe, the cinematic universe. So the first teaser trailer comes out, and it's kind of dark and a little bit, you know, almost scary, almost horror, and I was like, okay, this could be really interesting, you know, maybe going kind of a Logan direction. And then the next trailer came out, and I was like, okay, well, I could see things maybe going a little cheesier, maybe not quite as good, but, you know, I was still ready to hang in there. I'll see just about anything. So the opening weekend is looming close, and I start seeing all of these reviews from critics and stuff saying how terrible the movie is, and I was like, really? Like, terrible? I'm like, okay, a little cheesy maybe, but terrible. And Rotten Tomatoes, who I don't really pay much attention to anyway, is giving it something like, I think, 32%, and I was like, what? I'm like, well, that's a bummer, you know. And I was like, well, I'm still gonna go see it. So I go with my brother, and we come out of the movie, and I gotta say, the other reviews that I had seen kind of nailed it. You know, they were like, this is a really bad movie, but I've never had so much fun. And I was like, yeah, that movie was fun. I won't say that that movie was 100% amazing. I won't say that it was up to the standard of the rest of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but I had a great time. Now, there are some problems with it. There are a few moments that kind of dive over into cheese in not the greatest way. There are some problems for me with the darkness. Now, I don't mean like darkness as in like thematic or what have you, or mood or that sort of thing. I mean where the film is actually so dark that it was really hard to pick out, specifically in the last fight scene between Venom and his adversary, whose name I can't remember right now, sorry. So those were a couple of problems that I had with it, but other than that, I enjoyed the movie. So, I mean, that's the basic review, but what I actually want to talk about is something that I got out of this movie that I was not expecting to get. I call it my new catchphrase. Eddie is just beginning to get to know Venom, and it's through, of course, a fight scene. So they're fighting, and he's suddenly lashing out with these appendages that he doesn't know that he has. And he's questioning everything, and he's got a voice in his head. He's freaking out, which is great. Tom Hardy does a great job with that. There's actually a video that I'm going to try and link to here that you should definitely check out, because he explains that whole fight scene. And in that, he talks about one of my favorite movies of all time, All of Me, starring Steve Martin and Lily Tomlin, where Lily Tomlin's character, her soul is inhabiting Steve Martin's body at the same time that he is. So you have these two souls trying to, like, you know, control the same body, and it's this hilarious scene that Steve Martin does a great job acting in. Well, we kind of have a similar thing with that with Tom Hardy, where he's kind of like trying to figure out his body because there's this thing inside of him, and he's like, what's happening? At one point, Venom is talking to him, and they've just knocked out all these guys, and Venom says, now let's tear off their heads and pile them in the corner. And he's like, why would we do that? And he says, pile of bodies, pile of heads. Now, the appropriate reaction to this, what every audience member, anyone who ever hears that should say, is something like, what? Now, my reaction, of course, was actually more like, as my brother and I, who I went to the movie with, were walking out of the theater, we started talking about, you know, that was actually really fun. Like, I don't know why everyone's so freaked out, blah, blah, blah. And of course, pile of bodies, pile of heads came. At first, we were talking about how ridiculous, how absolutely absurd of a statement that is. How do you answer a question that way? Pile of bodies, pile of heads. Like, that makes everything better somehow. And yet, it did. It was exactly perfect. Pile of bodies, pile of heads. Makes perfect sense to me. And we came to realize that, you could use pile of bodies, pile of heads to answer just about any question. So that's what we've been doing lately. Pile of bodies, pile of heads. And it's gotten so ridiculous that we don't even have to say the words anymore. We just go. And that's kind of special to me. So thank you, Venom. We really, really enjoyed the movie. Tom Hardy, you are wonderful. And we look forward to seeing Carnage in the next one. So they better get to it, Sony. Watching you, okay? Bye.